Instructor Vark had trained warriors from 43 different worlds. She had broken Draxel brutes twice her size. She had humbled Threll nobles who thought their bloodline made them untouchable. But nothing, in 30 years of teaching, had prepared her for the human sitting in front of her, calmly eating a sandwich. "Are you even listening to me?" Vesa snapped. The human, a woman named Dana Ruiz, took another bite. "Yep, Deathworld training. 98% failure rate. Humans can't survive it. Go on." Vesa's eye ridges twitched. This was not the reaction she expected. The Deathworld combat program was legendary across the Assembly, a brutal, unforgiving simulation designed to test soldiers against conditions so extreme that most species refused to even attempt it. Crushing gravity, toxic atmosphere, predators bred for one purpose, to kill anything that entered their territory. In 30 years, only 11 soldiers had ever completed it. All of them Draxel. All of them nearly killed in the process. No human had ever passed. Most did not even survive the first hour. Vesa had seen the file on Dana Ruiz before class. Standard human physiology. No combat record. No special training. Just a transfer request from some backwater colony asking to join the program voluntarily. She assumed it was a mistake. She was about to find out how wrong she was. "You do understand," Vesa said, voice sharp, "that this simulation has killed trainees. Not injured. Killed." Dana shrugged, wiping her hands on a napkin. "Cool. When do we start?" The other trainees in the room, for Draxel recruits built like walking tanks, exchanged looks of disbelief. One of them, a broad-shouldered brute named Threx, laughed outright. "The human wants to die today, apparently." Dana did not even look at him. She just finished her sandwich, folded the wrapper neatly, and stood up. "Ready when you are." Vesa stared at her for a long moment. Something about the woman's calm was starting to feel less like ignorance, and more like something else entirely. But she pushed the thought away. Humans were fragile. Everyone knew that. She was about to learn just how wrong everyone could be. The simulation chamber activated with a low mechanical hum. Environmental controls shifting the room into something almost alien, crushing pressure, thin toxic air, harsh red light meant to disorient. The 4 Draxel recruits entered first, bracing immediately against the gravity shift, muscles straining under weight 3 times heavier than normal. Dana walked in like she was strolling into a grocery store. Vesa's sensors nearly malfunctioned, reading her vitals. Heart rate, steady. Stress levels, almost non-existent. "That is not possible," Vesa muttered. "Because Deathworld gravity alone was enough to buckle most species within seconds." Dana just rolled her shoulders like she was stretching before a jog. The predators came next. Vral hounds, 6 of them, apex hunters engineered for one purpose, tearing apart anything foolish enough to enter their territory. Fast, vicious, nearly impossible to predict. The Draxel recruits scattered into defensive positions immediately, weapons raised, training kicking in. Dana just watched them circle her, arms crossed, looking almost bored. "Human!" Threx shouted. "Move now!" But she did not move. She waited, and when the first hound lunged, faster than anything should be able to move, Dana simply stepped sideways, let it fly past her, and drove her elbow into the base of its skull as it passed. It dropped instantly. The room went silent except for the mechanical hum of the simulation. Vesa's claws froze over the control panel. That should not be possible. No human reflexes are rated for that speed. But there was no time to process it because the remaining 5 hounds attacked at once. Dana moved like she had done this 1,000 times before, ducking beneath one attack, redirecting another into a wall, using the environment itself like a weapon. Threx, stunned, tried to help her, only for a hound to slam into him from the side, sending him crashing into the dirt. Dana caught the same hound mid-pounce, twisted its momentum, and threw it clean into the chamber wall. The remaining 3 hesitated. For the first time in program history, the Vral hounds hesitated. Vesa's voice came through the intercom, stunned. "Trainee Ruiz, explain. Now." Dana wiped sweat from her brow, breathing steady. "Explain what?" "That," Vesa snapped. "Whatever that was." Dana glanced at the last 3 hounds, still circling but no longer attacking. "You want the science? Or the short version?" "Short version." Dana smiled faintly. "I grew up somewhere worse than this." The words hit the room like a shockwave. Because worse than Deathworld simulation was not supposed to exist. Vesa pulled up Dana's file again, digging past the surface data this time, past the vague colony designation, into classified records she almost never accessed. What she found made her blood run cold. Dana Ruiz was not from a standard human colony. She was from Cauldron Outpost 7, a settlement officially listed as unsupported, a place the Assembly had quietly written off decades ago after determining the environment was too hostile to sustain long-term human life. Crushing gravity, toxic storms, predators worse than anything in this simulation. The Assembly had assumed no one survived there. They were wrong. Humans had survived. Not just survived, adapted, built lives in conditions that should have been a death sentence. And Dana Ruiz had grown up there, in real gravity, real toxins, real predators, her entire childhood a version of the simulation with no off switch and no safety protocols. This was not a test to her. This was Tuesday. Vesa stared at the screen, hands trembling slightly. She had spent 30 years believing humans were the fragile species of the Assembly, weak, unprepared, needing protection. She had never once considered that some of them had already survived worse than anything she could simulate. The remaining hounds finally backed off entirely, sensing something in Dana that even they respected. Threx, bruised and stunned, stared up at her from the ground. "What are you?" Dana offered him a hand, pulling him up easily. "Just someone who got real good at not dying." The simulation ended early, an unprecedented decision, because there was nothing left to test. Vesa met Dana outside the chamber, her usual sharp authority replaced by something quieter, almost humbled. "I was wrong about you," she admitted. "I was wrong about your species." Dana shrugged, grabbing her jacket. "Most people are, at first. Why didn't you say anything? About Cauldron, about your homeworld?" Dana paused, something heavier passing behind her eyes. "Would it have mattered? You already decided humans couldn't survive this before I walked in." Vesa had no answer for that because it was true. She had judged an entire species based on assumption, not evidence, and it had almost cost her the respect of the one trainee who deserved it most. "You could have died in there," Vesa said quietly. "If I had misjudged the simulation difficulty." Dana smiled, tired but genuine. "You didn't. I've survived worse before breakfast." There was something in the way she said it, no bravado, no arrogance, just quiet, weary truth, that made Vesa realize exactly how much humanity had already endured before ever setting foot among the stars. News of the trial spread through the training compound within hours. Recruits who had mocked Dana that morning now watched her with something closer to reverence. Threx approached her later that evening, his usual arrogance replaced by something more careful. "I underestimated you." "Everyone does," Dana said. "First, will you keep proving them wrong?" Dana looked out toward the compound's horizon, thinking of home, of red skies and crushing storms and a childhood spent surviving what the galaxy called impossible. "As many times as it takes." Vesa watched from a distance, understanding now that the Deathworld program was never designed to measure human weakness. It had simply never met a human who had already lived through something worse. And as the sun set over the training compound, she found herself wondering how many other humans out there were quietly walking among the stars, carrying survival stories the Assembly had never bothered to ask about. Because if Dana Ruiz was any indication, humanity was not the fragile species everyone assumed. They were simply the ones who had already survived everything, long before anyone thought to notice.